Thursday morning, man. Lots to cover. If you watched basketball last night, Tennessee clinched the regular season SEC men's basketball championship. I hadn't felt so confident on a pick as I did about Tennessee going to South Carolina and winning. I think they're not going to lose this game. I don't care if it's played at South Carolina. Great win for the Volunteers. We've got Big Ben Troupe checking in with us from the Low Country over in Savannah, Georgia. Bo Carter checks in from out in Dallas. We've also got in the second half, Coach Matt Dean in Memphis and John Hartwell, AD at ULM. We're going to talk a lot of college basketball, and we're also going to talk about these comments. We've been saying this on this show for a while. Nick Saban, just the state of college football, he doesn't like it, and a lot of people don't like it. You get tough on a kid, all they care about, they're going to hold it over your head like the sword of Damocles. I'm going in the portal if you're tough on me. Well, again, that won't last too much longer. You may be glad Nick Saban's gone. Not so fast, because you always like to have the fastest runner, the fastest biker, the fastest swimmer. You want to be chasing them. It makes you better. So one day you're going to beat them. All right? You're going to have a bunch of mediocre coaches if we don't watch it. A bunch of 28-year-olds that don't have any experience, and they're just going to be, a mess. We're going to talk about that today. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner.
Smash it.
And now Brendan says this. On your Android or iPhone, hit the allow notifications button. It's in settings. It's very simple. That'll get you an alert every time we come on with the show. But all right, get your pen and your paper handy, and even a pencil. How many people have a pencil sharpener?
Rob,
Brendan?
nobody grabs their pen and paper. I don't know why. We say it every day, but they don't grab in it. They may get their phone out and turn this notes section on. But
get your phone out and get the notes section. Correct. Yeah. All right. We'll be right back.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man, we have got, there's the hat looking down, thinking like Rodin, the thinker, the great statue. Rodin. I went to see that at the Dixon Garden one time. It was really exciting. It was really cool. Bo Carter checks in from the Metroplex. William, the intern, Halliday, is on spring break, and he goes, I could try to call in from my phone. I'm down here with some buddies at the beach. I'm like, you won't even be asleep. You won't even be asleep. I said, enjoy your week off. It's spring break. And you know what? I went to Daytona Beach one time for spring break, and I did see people driving on the beach, and I didn't like that but now if you go to 30A in Grayton Beach, Florida, where Western Lake comes out right to the Gulf, you can actually drive your truck or your car, get a permit out to the beach and tailgate like you're at a football game. All right.
Until high tide, then tailgating nothing.
Yeah, you got to watch out. You do. But Grayton Beach is what Destin was in the Panhandle 50 years ago. Just cottages, kind of a laid back. I love the Redneck Riviera.
I know you do.
Ben lives over there in the swanky part, Savannah, Tybee Island, Kiowa, Hilton Head. But you know what the great irony is? You can be lounging and living it up at Hilton Head, South Carolina. And then there's Port Royal Sound. And on the other side is Paris Island. You can just hear the guys over there like going, 1, 2, 3, 4. I love the Marine Corps. And it is awesome over there. Bo Carter, you know Ben Troupe. And you know Brendan Martin. Look, a lot of stuff is happening right now. I'm going to start with Bo, and then I want to bounce it back to Ben. We're going to do back and forth. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to have John Hartwell and Matt Dean talking a lot of basketball. But Nick Saban's comments, and Brendan sent them to me, but I'd been hearing hey, you can't be tough on these kids. They're going to threaten you with the portal. And oh yeah, I like it. I think it may be the sword of Damocles from my old classics days. That's right. It's the Damocles. I love that name. But let's talk about those comments from Nick Saban about what drove him out of college football. And you know what? We're going to miss him. I don't care what anybody says, but Bo, his comments and they're going to resonate, aren't they?
And they really are. I don't think Ben drove him out. Ben was too nice a guy to make Saban mad, or he would have entered the transfer portal and gone to Alabama if he'd been.
Yeah, I mean,
no, seriously. Saban's name has come up for this Zorro football position. They keep talking about this. If the group of 5 conferences pull out and form their own football group or whatever, that Saban has been a prominent name. Bill Hancock, who's retiring from the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Maybe Ben would be a good guy. He's had college and pro experience, but
I think he would.
Something's got to be done. Rob, you and Brendan and Ben have all said too, at some point it's going to even out, but it's just right now it's just a total mess, really.
Yeah. Ben, your thoughts. You played for Steve Spurrier and Ron Zook. And by the way, I saw a really good interview recently with Ron Zook. And man, he would have been a cool guy to play for. But you played for both of them. They were tough on you, but here you are at 39 or 40, whatever you are. You probably look back fondly and go, I needed that, didn't I?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing, Nick Saban, obviously, when he speaks, everybody's going to listen. And I don't think what he said was wrong, but I think sometimes when you hear Nick Saban is speaking from being at the top of the hill. And I get it. What he's saying is Nick Saban, whether it's NIL, non-NIL, BCS, college football playoff, he's going to get the best players no matter what. No matter what. I think the thing about NIL that gets blown out of proportion is we think that that's every school. It is not. Mm-hmm. We think that a Caleb Williams and an Arch Manning it's not. Now, I get it. I can only speak from where I am. So if I've been in the gated community so long that I forgot when I didn't live outside of it, that's how long Nick Saban's been inside the gated community, right? If there was a gated community in Tuscaloosa, he was there. If it's only 1 or 2, but he's not wrong with what he's saying. He's not wrong, but it's also not across the board. That would be like if I'm comparing me as a football player to the greatest there is, well, I'm not going to measure up to that, hardly ever. But I do think that when you talk about giving power back to the players, what goes on with the players is learn from the coaches. Everything you learn.
Okay.
And so I just think that when I was there, it was a moment of time to where that's where it was. I mean, Coach Spurrier had already had this big juggernaut, offense and teams by the time I got there. You think I'm finna mess that up? Players will tell you, man, don't come in here messing this up. Ron Zook had to follow in those footsteps. So no matter what Ron Zook did or didn't do, it was always going to be compared to what Spurrier did or didn't. But I think this is the world we in now. I think we're going to get a hold on it. It's just anything that's new is wild and crazy. I mean, when you talk about anything that's nuances, my kids, man, if I tell them, hey, y'all want some popcorn? They be like, yeah. I was like, go in there and pop it. Well, Daddy, how I do that? What do you mean? Put it in the microwave and they got with us, we had to say, is it 2 minutes and 30 seconds? Now they got a button that says popcorn. Just push the popcorn button. Or they'll just sit in front of them. I tell my 5-year-old nephew go make some popcorn. He takes it out the wrapper, make sure this side is up, push the popcorn button, and he walks away. So I just think that now when you talk about NIL and transfer portal, it is crazy. And like anything is, but I think you got to give it time. But I always think about it like this. If you want to, the reason why Cam Newton is who he is or became what he became is because he got kicked out of school, went to JUCO, saw how college really is. Y'all have to wash y'all own clothes? Yeah. You don't give a one pair of cleats? Yeah. You don't give a one pair of gloves? Yeah. Then he goes back to Auburn with a different level of appreciation. And I'm not saying he wouldn't have did that had he not gone to JUCO, but every time you think about college football, we only talking about the creme de la creme. Like we talking about the Alabamas, the Auburns, the Georgias, the Michigans. What about the other teams in those states that hear about this stuff and going, what are they talking about? Like, So I think that once again, I'm talking about the nuance of it. I'm talking about across the board. Nick Saban, whenever he speaks, everybody's going to listen. He has a perspective only he can share. But I also know Nick Saban never had to worry about two things in college football: talent and money. He never had to worry about it, and he'll never have to worry about it.
Yeah, and let me say, those are great comments by Ben Bowe. The Red Elephant Club, I've been saying this on the show. They've been kind of sitting back and watching all this. About 3 weeks ago, they said, okay, we're in. Watch out. Watch out. Auburn's got two collectives, On to Victory, Ever to Conquer. Last September, they had $19 million in a checking account in just one of those check banks that they deal with. There's some powerful people. Now, how are they going to act? You better spread it out. Bo Carter, Bill Hancock. He's retiring, and we've had him on the show a number of times. He and Brett Daniels have been the face of the college football playoff. Who is taking over for Bill Hancock? A steady hand. He was the skipper, Remember the skipper on Gilligan's Island, but much smarter than the skipper.
It's our friend who's the former commandant of the U.S. Air Force Academy, who played for Air Force from 82 to 85, and very well-connected gentleman. He's will do a tremendous job, and he really knows college football. So I think there'll be a very smooth transition there. And
what is his name?
I voted for Ben Troupe. I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
Okay, I was going to say
Lieutenant General Brandon, help me here. Help me. I voted for Ben Troupe, but he didn't make it.
Are you telling me it's Sergeant Schultz from?
No, it's not Gomer Pyle or Sergeant Carter either. So.
Well, I'll say this: Mark Ham, who's on here with us a lot, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report. His son Will's been working out in Dallas, and you've met him and helped him, and thank you. And this is what he wants to get into. And Ben, I love what you said. Ben's 5-year-old seems to have cooking skills similar to mine. That's his nephew. By the way, Ben and Bo and Brendan, one time my mom was out of town and Dad was with my two sisters and me, and he was going to make dinner for us. And I'm not kidding you. The man put a steel can of soup in a microwave and it exploded. That's what'll happen. Sparks started going. And he goes, well, let's go to the club and eat. So we just left and went out to dinner. Ben, all right, talking about this college football playoff, the czar. By the way, Audrey and I, Lieutenant General Richard Clark is the new college football playoff executive. Okay. Dick Clark, I think about that. Okay, never mind. But anyway, I want to ask you, think about this new playoff committee. I don't like the term czar. We've been watching a thing about Peter the Great and Catherine the Great this week. Audrey has on Netflix. That's crazy. But a commissioner, like Commissioner Gordon. Ben, would you want to be on a small, I don't like the word committee either because I think of politics. How about a small team of operators? Because you get it. You can extrapolate information from people that most people can't. I want you on that committee. Why not Ben Troupe? I'm serious.
I mean, I could be on a committee as long as I didn't have to deal with the public. Yeah, I could do it. And I'm being honest when I say that, because every time I used to go to SEC media days and I used to talk to Bill Hancock, we used to say the same thing every single time. When we go into 12, when we go into 8, when we go, and he would never tell us, right? And the reason why he never told us because he knew when it went to that he was leaving. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to be out by the time it comes. The only problem I do have with the college football playoff committee is why they don't tell us how they vote. Just tell us how. Don't show us who in the room. Oh, that's so and so. The camera goes across the room. You can see who in the room. I don't see what the big thing is because we knew this. I mean, I think it's great for college football that Michigan won the national championship and you got it out of a certain part of the country, aka the Southeast, for a year. But
you rented it for a year.
Exactly. When you look at what Deion Sanders does for Colorado, he gets eyes away from the South. When you look at what a Michael Penix Jr. get him away from the South, and they make the college football playoff, that being Washington making the national championship. I think the thing about the college football playoff committee, they have the hardest job in football. They really, really do. And it used to be who's going to be number 4, like who's going to be the 4th team get in, not the first, second. But now with so many teams, how could you have a P5 and only 4 teams get in? That's what everybody used to say. You got a P5, only 4 teams can get in, AKA let's pick a team, not name Ohio State.
Yeah.
Because that's what it used to be. It used to be, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, or Ohio State. So now, because I think the thing about the national championship is, or the college football playoff, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of eyes on these teams. So now you're finna have college football playoff games being played at home. You know how much revenue that is? You know how much? So for me, I think the guy who controls mostly everything is Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC. He's going to get the most teams in. Yeah. And Greg Sankey did something that people don't give enough credit for. When he was having all these meetings about Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, and it never got out. And the word of viral stuff leaking, never leaked. And mind you, thank God to thank God that Greg Sankey walk into, Atlanta Jackson Hartfield and just walk into an underground bunker. And he ain't going to no hotel. He ain't even leaving the airport. But college football, when you look at how much revenue it brings in and how many eyes it gets, people go, how do we get those eyes in the Midwest? How do we get them eyes on the West Coast? Put them in the college, put them in. Because in the end of the day, if the tournament is bigger, anybody can lose. See, when it's just 4 teams, you kind of know how this thing ends. 12 teams get in, 12 teams get in. I mean, I know that we in March and we finna start, March Madness is here. Yeah. Cinderella's is great in basketball, but they're not gonna beat them Blue Bloods. It just don't happen. But in football, on one game, I think
Well, Ben, you're on a roll, and damn, I mean, you can't refute anything you're saying, and I agree with you. Both throwing it back to you. You know the people. There are 3 cities, what I call the holy trinity of the power in college football, and that holy trinity is Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex, all right, Birmingham, and Atlanta. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. And the SEC, Ben's got to come out and see us in Dallas. The SEC Media Days will be at the Omni Hotel downtown. They're invading.
Now, is it true? Ben told me, and Brendan backed this up, that now that Texas is in the SEC, there's a giant 80 by 80 foot billboard on I-20 that says in orange and white, Texas welcomes, and in the bottom right-hand corner, the SEC.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
I just wanted to confirm that because Ben said he would take his hat off if I was right and tip us.
Hey man,
but he wears. He's got the best
hey,
looking hats on TV. I just wanted to say that.
I'm tipping y'all. Texas and Oklahoma. When people have companies, people always say, "Who can I add? What can we add to?" give us more, presence or add more prestige. The SEC already had everything. Think about if you are Texas A&M and Mizzou and you go, wait a minute, y'all never really wanted us? We did, but we really wanted Texas and Oklahoma. Like we really wanted to. And the thing about Texas and Oklahoma is when people say, man, what do big brands do? They partner with bigger brands. Yeah. Like as big as Texas and Oklahoma is, Big 12 wasn't serving them no more. It just wasn't. Yeah. So you talk about when people start asking themselves, man, what does a brand want to do? They want to do less but earn more. I don't want to have to work so hard. So now, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray and Vince Young, do you know everything they did going to be attached to the SEC now? They never even played in it. But it's almost like the thing. Me and Vince Young are really, really good friends. And he's always talking about how the SEC wasn't that good. They used to struggle with Arkansas. He would say, I don't think the SEC is that good. I said, man, y'all scratching and clawing to beat the Razorbacks, man. Like y'all scratching and clawing. and mind you, it's a different Texas team now, and I respect Texas top to bottom. I respect Oklahoma top to bottom. But the SEC is a different monster because you cannot hide. I mean, some of the best programming in college football was already happening in the SEC week in and week out. Now you talking about Texas, LSU on a regular Saturday, Oklahoma, Florida on a regular Saturday. Who's going to compete with that type of program?
And Ben, along the line of what he said, and you knew Orville Henry, didn't you, Bo? Great sports writer for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. His son Clay Henry. I was told this by one of our Arkansas writers that when Arkansas joined the SEC, Orville Henry was at the press conference and his son Clay was there with him. And he said, Dad, what is this going to mean for Arkansas? He goes, son, we're going to be playing Texas every Saturday. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Bo, the power center, the holy trinity of college football, you're in there in the Metroplex. What's the vibe out there? Texas A&M is probably saying, and Missouri, I agree with Ben, you're bringing in Texas and OU. Why bring sand to the beach? But they are. They're bringing a lot of it. And Ben, I meant a tip of the hat. But no, I'm saying Ben's right. Bo adds some fuel to that. As Tom Paul Glazer's great song, Friends Beard, reminded me of a few weeks ago, put another log on the fire, cook me up some bacon and some beans. Fetch my slippers from the. Here we go. Go ahead, Bo. I cannot sing.
No, that's Ben remembers this. I love the comment. The former A&M athletic director Ross Bjork when Texas got admitted.
Benton's smoked bacon, by the way, folks. Benton's Smoky Mountain cured hams, smoked hams, and cured bacon. Love these people. That stuff is so good. If you're walking the Green Mile, you would eat a 4-pack, 40 pieces of that smoked bacon. But Bo, so I'm getting wound up. I'm drinking out of my cup from Bim Bam's in Oxford, Mississippi, restaurant I went to the other night. Love this place. Bim Bam, Flim Flam, Ole Miss by damn. Bo's about to throw a rock at me, but keep going, Bo. You're on a roll.
Have good friends. I'm like Ben. I have some good friends in Oxford. But no, if you'll remember when the former Texas AD who's now at Ohio State, Ross Bjork, when Texas got admitted, said, "Hey, I thought we were told by the SEC we were going to be the only Texas team."
Sure.
So, and then the president, Ben remembers it, the president, he was misquoted on that last statement. We're welcome along. The weirdest thing, the Longhorn Network, which has been giving Texas extra $30 million from ESPN since 2001, and sort of got Nebraska and Colorado and some of those teams, Missouri, some of those teams, and A&M out of the Big 12 will go away on June 30th. There will be no more long. They'll be part of the good old SEC family, and we always tell everybody they're going to cash the same check at the end of the year that Vanderbilt does. It's a pretty hefty check, I might add. So they'll win, lose, or draw. Arkansas has done the same thing, Ben. They really they're making another 10 or 15 million bucks a year than they would have made at the old Southwest Conference or Big 12. So it's a monetary deal, but it's prestige too. The SEC has the power, and the Big Ten has the most television set, most populous area of anybody in the country. So you can see how they can call most of the shots.
Well, Ben,
these days.
I think the geographical footprint that is the Big Ten has like 75% of America's television sets. But when was the last time either of y'all went to the store to buy an alarm clock, a radio, or a camera? Because it's all right here. It's just, think about that. Ben, you're a little younger than both of us. Your thoughts on what Bo just said?
I agree. It was shocking to me when I saw how much money the Big Ten brought in. But then when you start, outside of a Texas A&M, outside of the SEC doesn't have they're not in big cities, and that's by design. They don't have.
Yes.
Now they got big markets. But they don't have Gainesville, Knoxville. Now Nashville is a big city. I love you, Vanderbilt, but I'm just saying. And so I think that when you talk about what the SEC does, the SEC has eyes. Big Ten has television. They in all these households, but the NCAA is doing all this can to not let these two conferences break away. They are saying, look, we have to do all we can. You know how mad Texas was. Texas like, we're going to the SEC. You can't have the Texas Longhorn Network. What? No.
I love it.
And the thing about that is, if I'm on the Longhorn Network, I don't know why everybody's mad. Like, what's wrong with y'all? We're going up to the SEC. Yeah, we got to pull this stuff down. Why? Because everything, see them patches they had Longhorn Network, you got to take that stuff off.
Yeah.
And that's the part of business. With my nonprofit that I have with my young men, I'm always telling them, I said, I didn't understand the importance of having experience in the room when I was young. I didn't understand that. Because in my mind, I think that my way is the best. I think that the way that I'm young and I got all these ideas, but then when it comes to structure, I wasn't there. I was energetic. I wanted to be able to do this and do that. I think now the SEC is saying, hey, man, I know it looked like we just throwing paint at the wall and watch what stick. We good at this business stuff. We really good at it. So much so, no, Notre Dame is not going to ever go to a conference. Why would you ever do that to yourself? Touchdown Jesus will not be in the conference. I guarantee you that. But when you talk about the SEC, they're saying what we lack in these households, we make up with eyeballs.
Yeah,
we're not gonna make as much. We don't make it. Like I said, when you talk about Columbus, Ohio, you know, I didn't know Columbus was that big. You know,
it's big
people. So for the SEC, they're not hurting. They're not. Yeah. And actually, unfortunately, when the SEC doesn't win the national championship, it benefits them. You know how much money they're gonna pour into these schools now? Yeah. So if I benefit more from not winning than I do from winning, Nick Saban also knew, no matter what he says, he knows this, man. The SEC does not stop, and I'm one of the top schools. I want to be able to rest a little bit. I want to be able to see, my grandkids grow up if he does have it. I want to be able to, me and my wife, to go out on a date because, like I said, the worst you can do is become the greatest while you're doing it. You don't think, and I want to stay on that mantle. I mean, LeBron James, 21 years?
31, I think. He's 72 years old. He's been around a while.
He's 72. I want to say Pete Carroll is in his 70s.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, I think, is in his 60s, right?
I think he's like 72.
We really think these dudes gonna do it forever. Like they've been coaching football since it was on DVDs and video and VHS.
Yeah.
They've been doing it that long, and yet Nick Saban is saying, look, all I'm doing is competing with myself. Ain't nobody gonna do what I've done. And if they do what I've done, they ain't gonna have no hair at the end. They ain't gonna have I don't know how Nick Saban hair is not great. I don't know how he's done that. Maybe him and Jimmy Johnson got, I don't know, a hair care line.
I think he knows our good friend Cy Sperling for Hair Club for Men. You should call Cy Sperling. Hey, look, let me throw something at you. And this is what's wild. When you think about what is going on, and John Hartwell and Matt Dean will be on with us in a second. We're going to bounce and talk some basketball and just the current stuff going on in the SEC and everything. This is a great discussion. And I think what both of y'all are saying is that your 70s, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, they ain't old, okay? If you lower the bar for people, they'll meet the minimum standard. Raise the bar. I love to be around people that are better than me. Every chance I get, it makes you better. What keeps you young, my parents are 89 and 95. What keeps you young is to have friends older than you, your age, and younger than you. And when you're 89 and 95, you don't have that many friends older than you. As my dad said about being an architect at 95 is most of the people I used to do work for are dead. The ones that aren't think I'm dead. So I got to remind them I'm alive. So, but I think what was going on with the coaching thing, Ben's right. Market is going to naturally correct this stuff. What Nick Saban said is going to resonate, okay? It's going to resonate. We're going to bring in a couple of more scholars. John Hartwell, who's an athletic director at University of Louisiana Monroe. He's been at Ole Miss. He's been at Georgia State. He got that football program going. Oh, and he's roughing it. Looks like he's – God. John, just start talking. Got Ben Troupe, Bo Carter from the Metroplex over in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Carrollton, I might add, because that's where he actually resides. And Matt Dean's going to be on with us in just a minute. But, John, that looks like a painting from Saint-Tropez, but you're actually alive down there on 30A. Talk and just let us just rejoice in your great words of wisdom.
Hey, well, I'm actually a little west of the Pensacola Beach Pier. You can see in the background, we've got our Sun Belt Conference going on down here. So down here, hopefully to see our women's team beat Georgia Southern last night and has Old Dominion. Worst setting, especially since it's going to be about 78, not a cloud. sky today. It's great to be with y'all today. Ben, were you in charge of Rob morning? I'm trying to figure out what that leopard skin thing is under that vest.
Man, listen. At the end of the day, John, when it comes to Rob, listen. Rob got producers now. He got stylists now.
Right.
I don't know. If that's what they told Rob, if Rob's wife is the missus, if the missus said wear the leopard skin with the Speedos, he better put them on, man.
Hey, what this is a shirt from. It's a company called Acres Down South, which you can buy at one of our sponsors, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, located on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And they've got it all out there. And in fact, I'm going out there later today because they've got another shirt out there with whiskey bottles and flasks called Happy Hour or something like that. But I'll wear that one on the show tomorrow if we get out there today. But now, look, John, you're down there. Y'all have your tournament in a rough place. You ever notice they have these NCAA committings? They don't have them in like Fargo, North Dakota in January. They have them in, Naples, Florida, or in Merritt Island or something like that. But it's basketball time, man. It's March Madness. And I love this time of year. Matt, jump in here. SEC tournament. Last night, there we go, the leopard man. I felt man, that guy's scary looking. I felt as confident as I have all season about Tennessee going on the road and winning at South Carolina last night. Were you surprised by that outcome? And it was close at the end, but Tennessee, to borrow the line from Dan Aykroyd or Belushi and Blues Brothers, we're on a mission from God. They look like they are.
Hey, good morning, guys. It's great to be back on with you guys. And Bo, I haven't seen you in a while, man. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Listen, I think defense travels. I've coached basketball a long time in my career. In Tennessee now, besides a really well-orchestrated defense, you had Dalton Connect, who had, I think, 23 last night, maybe more. They're potent, man. I'll tell you what, the SEC – I know we talk a lot about Big 12 basketball. We talk a lot about UConn. Now and then we'll get in the Purdue conversation. But the SEC has multiple teams that can go deep in the NCAA tournament with Tennessee at the top of the list. I think we talked last week about I thought their biggest win, even though it was a huge win last night, but winning at Alabama kind of set the table for this. And, then Florida beats Alabama. I'd say Florida's a dangerous team in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. And don't count out Kentucky. They're playing really good basketball right now. I think the SEC could have multiple teams in that second weekend.
Well, you think about it, Ben, the Gators basketball. Todd Golden, is he even 30 years old? He is a youthful guy. But, man, he's got those guys believing top to bottom SEC. We talk about it every day. But, Ben, we're going to bounce it around, kind of make it fast-paced here. How good are the Gators? I mean, you know your Gators. You know the SEC. You know college basketball. They got some great guards, and that's where it all starts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say their guard play is the reason why they in most of these games. Florida is going to always have to come down to how do they finish. I mean, they good. They got really, really good bigs. I think Coach Golden, nobody saw him doing what he was doing it already in year two. I mean, when you talk about a guy coming over from San Fran and what he's been able to do, the SEC, somebody forgot to tell the SEC to not be as good as basketball anymore. All these teams. I mean, you talk about, you got Auburn, you got Tennessee. Kentucky is always going to have, the 5 stars, but Florida's going to make it in. I mean, we'll see what they do in the tournament. I think they're going to be a very, very dangerous team going into the NCAA tournament. But Coach Golden and his impression on the entire team is showing. And like I said, I mean, I'm a couple of years removed from Coach White over there at Georgia. It's been rough these last 5 or 6 years. But the SEC in basketball will never be what it is in football. But when you talk about how good the SEC has gotten in basketball, I'm just happy that my Gators are being talked about as being a team to watch and not just a team filling the slot.
Yeah, John Hartwell, if you can tell me the nickname of the University of San Francisco where Todd Golden came from, I'll buy you a steamer pack of crystals the next time I see you.
Are they not the Dons, the D-O-N-S?
Yes.
The Dons.
Yes. With cheese or without cheese, it doesn't matter. I'll do it, and I'll throw.
Hey, I want the hey, go all the way.
I'll throw in a 30 rack of hams.
Oh, nice, nice. I mean,
go ahead.
Here's the thing, and you know, having been out west and watching the difference in basketball, I do think the SEC is probably the most athletic. It may not be in terms of pure shooters and basketball savvy or basketball IQ, like some of the West Coast teams, but man, it is physical and it is not for the weak of heart. It ain't about a contact sport. Watch you 20 minutes of an SEC game. But as we come down to March, don't forget.
Break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget about coaching. And I think writes off the Kansas Jayhawks and Bill Self, or writes off Kentucky and said, I wouldn't bet against either one of those guys when it comes to March Madness time.
Yeah, and Bo Carter, you know the Big 12 landscape, and Matt, you're an Iowa Hawkeye. You know the Big 10. I look at Purdue has been ranked number 2 or 3, Bo, for years. Eddie's been there since the late 90s, the big 7'4" center. And why he has not left for the NBA, I don't know. But he averages like 62% field goal percentage, a lot of dunks and all. Pick a team out of the Big 12 and the Big 10 that you think will make a Final Four run.
I think Houston, Matt will probably back me up. This Kelvin Sampson's got them playing great defense. They clinched at least a tie for the Big 12 championship with Iowa State by beating UCF, which is maybe an NCAA tournament team, on the road last night. And again in the Big 10, I like Purdue. I think Purdue can go along with Edie. They've had a history in the last few years of sort of getting one and done, but hopefully they'll play a little bit better this year. But it's going to be such a great NCAA tournament, man. I'm already getting my brackets ready here, Matt.
Well, Matt, we're going to do a bracket on
a week
here.
in advance.
Yeah. Well, Matt, we're not even talking about the SEC tournament. We're going to do that in a second. But when you look at Big 10, Big 12, who jumps out at you?
Bo hit it, Houston. I mean, I love Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
I just love their tenacity. I love Jamal Shed. I love LJ Cryer. They also have toughness inside. Every year they seem to get someone banged up and then someone steps up. That's the culture of Houston. Any one of those guys that can go through their practices, I promise you, I've met Coach Sampson before. He's one of the best in the business right now. Now, we talk about Purdue a lot, and rightfully so, because they have been disappointing in the NCAA tournament. I do love Matt Painter, their head coach. I think he's a fine head coach. I think what happens though, and I'm gonna spread some truth here. The last couple of years, I just feel like the Big 10, top to bottom, may have not prepared Purdue for what is in the tournament.
Yeah.
This year, I think Purdue and Illinois are very good, but the rest of the Big 10, you've seen how Wisconsin's fallen off. You've also seen Northwestern's kind of lost a few. My Hawkeyes are trying to make a late bubble run. Indiana's down. Michigan State's 10-9 in league play. So none of those teams stand out to me as a team that can make a run to the Final Four, except for Illinois and obviously Purdue. But, we don't talk about Matt Painter very much in the Southeast Conference world, but Matt Painter is a really, really fine basketball coach.
Yeah.
So I pull for him because they've had some extreme disappointment, but I also pull for Houston. I think if you're talking Big 12, there's a lot of great basketball programs. One that never gets mentioned because I'm a Hawkeye fan, but Iowa State's really good too, Bo.
Yeah.
And,
He's done a good job.
And they play with a real toughness. They remind me of Tennessee in a way because they're real physical from a defensive standpoint. But Houston's going to be one of the teams that I will probably take a chance on in my bracket to go to the Final Four because I just love their makeup.
Yeah. Ben, let's throw this one at you, and we're going to talk about the SEC. Tennessee wrapped up the regular season title last night, outright, first one since 2008. That's their 11th SEC men's basketball title in history, which is second most in the SEC. behind Kentucky's 49.
49.
Yeah. So what the other teams are playing for now is not having to play on day one. And as an athlete, and you're always going to be very competitive. That's just who you are. Everybody on this panel is very competitive. Tell me this. What is it about the SEC tournament that some teams go in there and just absolutely puke on TV and they're really good? If they're being honest, are they looking ahead to March to the NCAA tournament and saying we just want to have some time to rest? If they were honest with themselves?
They could be, but I think the NCAA tournament, I mean, it's something they used to always tell us. I mean, you either gonna apply pressure, or you're gonna feel it. And them top teams, they gonna feel it more to those teams that's trying to get in. A team that's been good all year, you're trying to sustain success. You're trying to just stay up there. Teams are trying to, scratch and claw. In the SEC, it's always the team that's going to be watched the most is going to be Kentucky every single year. But that's why Tennessee can do what it's doing. Bruce Pearl over there at Auburn. I mean, he's getting compared to, hey, man, you left Tennessee. They were supposed to go down when you left. They actually got better, even though he's doing what he's doing at Auburn. I think the SEC tournament, it's all about momentum. You want to get momentum going in. You want to have a lot of momentum coming out. But the SEC is always, even if they say it or not, they're always scratching and clawing for people to respect them like they respect the ACC.
Yeah.
That's the whole for basketball, because when the SEC does well, they'll say, all right, Tennessee, y'all really, really good. Can y'all get to the Final Four? Can y'all not lay an egg in the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16? If you are Bruce Pearl, can you finally get over the hump and get that national championship? If you are Florida, can you restore some of the glory? It's every team coming in has their, some type of stigma attached to it. But if you ain't the last team standing, you just had a really, really good season. And the thing about the SEC is they're really, really good. The talk of the tournament last year was, wait a minute, Duke and North Carolina in it? I'm telling you, when certain teams don't get in, it becomes less about the teams that are in. But if you are the SEC, I want to know who was the front runner. Tennessee seems to be the best team. Kentucky going to have the best players. Florida got the tradition. Other teams around the league are playing well. Can you look good in the tournament? Can you look good when everybody – because everybody's watching the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Certain people are watching the SEC tournament. It's not going to matter, because if you got one next to your name, you got all the pressure on you, because if you don't make it to the second round and you a 1 or a 2 seed, it was all for naught.
Yeah. Well, John Hartwell, talking about these tournaments, you're down there for a tournament. Your tournament is in Pensacola, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So you look at tournaments and this mentality, like I'm asking everybody on this panel, how can you not want to go in there and try to win every game? But when you think about the number of games to win the national championship, you might play 38 basketball games. And a great thing was brought up by one of our guests on the show. I think Doug Dean said it last week. You've got to get out of this mentality like a football. You play once a week, you lose. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people go crazy, start smashing stuff, and they can't sleep. But in basketball, you play so many games. If you go 21-7 in the regular season, that's a pretty damn good year. What about that mentality?
And I think people, your listeners are familiar with the SEC, really more so in the baseball tournament, because it's all about the arms in the tournament and people not winning your conference tournament in baseball. I don't think it's that way at all in basketball. I think in basketball, number one, your championship game in the SEC is Friday, again until the next Thursday or Friday potentially. So I think the incorrect move from a coaching standpoint to say, hey, get after it, but what really you can't this time of year, you have got to be elevating to and I don't think somebody who's going to say, hey, pump the brakes, next week is what really matters. You lose from a coaching psychology standpoint, but you've got to play every game, try to be peaking. And to me, the most important byproduct of these conference tournaments, especially for me, right there teetering on a 4 or 5 seed, you really want to be on those top 4, a top 16 seed, because you're path to, or even the Elite Eight or Final Four is a much easier path if you're one of those top.
Yeah, and well, I mean, let me say this too about. I know, John, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. Brendan informed us that a couple of days ago, an underwater internet cable was cut. I don't know what happened to it, if a shark bit it or what, but it is affecting internet around the world. So it really is an issue. But yeah, but I agree with what you said. Your comments, but you were breaking up a little bit. But that's what it is. Bo Carter, you've been there at these tournaments, and this time of year, I love it because the underdogs, Americans love underdogs. They get in these tournaments and you get hot. But if you have to play 4 or 5 straight days to win your conference tournament, and then turn around, you finish up Sunday, and then Thursday it starts over again, how important is it that a coach learns how to pace his players? And I'm going to ask you that, and then Matt, you take from there.
I was going to defer. You swing this right to Matt Dean and segue. We used to laugh that Roy Williams and Bill Self used to try to get Kansas eliminated early, so they would be fresh for the NCAA tournament the next
Well, he
week.
won 14 in a row.
But no, you're right. Oh yeah, and with these 12 and 14 team, Rob, you hit it right on the head, man. If you got to play 4 games in 4 days, you're pretty much shot by the time. I mean, not everywhere that you get momentum going in some of these things, but boy, that's a lot of basketball to play, and then you just hope and pray you don't get put in one of the play-in games Tuesday night. That would be the all-time killer. But they use 99% of the time they don't. But it's boy, it's just it is March Madness and March Sadness, as we all know.
Matt, March Sadness, Matt Dean. Ooh, that's marketable.
Well, Bo's kind of like the commercial of Bo Jackson. Bo knows his sports. So anyway,
Bo knows.
I'm just telling you, I've talked about the dog days of February, and it's a coach's responsibility to give some players some time away from the hard maple as much as they can in preparation, right? And leads to the madness of March. So one of the things for us is, we were always off on Mondays. We were light Tuesdays. Wednesday we didn't go more than 75 minutes. Thursday walk through, Friday hopefully kick butt, right? I mean, I know that doesn't sound a lot, but there's more work in the film room right now, guys, than on the court. And if you're going to have a chance to make a deep run, Bo alluded to it. Sometimes those coaches, if you're a 4 or 5 seed, and you're in, and if you're Kansas, you've won multiple Big 12 tournaments. Right now, it's just honestly you're preparing for the NCAA tournament in essence. And I do think though it's hard to turn it on and turn it off. When you're in those games, you're a competitor. You want to win every game you play in, and Ben knows that as a pro athlete. So, I mean, it's easy for us to say as a coach that we'd like to lose it. Nah, man. If we're playing a game, we want to win a game. I want to get that straight. I'm not throwing no games. And then don't take that NCAA as a point spread threat there. But anyway, the reality of the situation is you want to win every game you play in, but sometimes you benefit from an early postseason tournament exit that leads you to some extra time for prep for the NCAA tournament. It's 100% correct.
Bo, and I like what you just said about Bill Self. They won 14 straight Big 12 basketball championships, and I don't think – this year, who's going to win the Big 12? It's a log jam here at the end.
It really is. And Matt alluded, the Iowa State is still in contention. Yeah. Houston has to play Kansas at home in their senior day Saturday. Iowa State's sitting in there 12-5, Houston 13-4. So you could have a tie, and that would be Houston's first Big 12 championship in any sport since they joined the Big 12. So they at least lose tie. So it's boy, and they're talking. I think the SEC and the Big 12 are talking about 8 or 9 bids potentially. So it's not, unfortunately, knocked a few of those mid majors out of there, as Matt and John remember. But it's going to be such a great logjam, and they always hate to be the 69th team, as we all know.
Yeah. Well, John Hartwell, talking about these tournaments and all, are you a fan of tournaments? I mean, they disappeared for a while, but they came back. The ACC tournament in 1968 or 69 was brought back to Charlotte, the Queen City. Look what it did for that. You're at the women's tournament right now down in Pensacola near Seville Quarter. They're fun. I mean, I think it's really just a celebration of basketball, and everybody it's a lot of networking, but they're still got to play the games. I love the tournaments. I don't think we can have enough competition because we know what's coming soon. We'll just be we'll be out of sports, but at least college baseball goes till late June, and the tempo is there.
I think the tournaments are really good from this perspective because it gives every team, no matter what the course of the regular season, an opportunity. It's not a probability, but a possibility of advancing to postseason play. You win you win 4 games in a row in the NCAA tournament, and that's part of the March Madness magic. I mean, you see it. See a 15 and 17 team that gets hot during their conference. I will tout our league here at the Sun Belt, and one of the things that we have for the top 4 seeds in our league, they actually. So I think setting up the conference tournament is the advantage to those people who've consistently performed well during the regular season. Yeah, because they all those folks have to do that get that double bye is win. I think it's really a great concept. It's also great for the fans, whether it's the our Sun Belt tournaments here in Pensacola. It's a great event for the.
Yeah, it's a good trip. It's a great road trip. You broke up a little bit, but Ben, talking about these tournaments, the SEC tournament. You know what happens Kentucky, Nashville, Catville. That's the joke. You can't find a hotel room anywhere around there. You might find the Scottish Inn or Motel 6, if you want to stay there. I don't know if you can even find that, but the Cat fans are coming in. Are you buying into this? Kentucky's going to come in. They're the most talented team. They're going to just turn it on. They haven't been consistent all year long. You can't just winning is a state of mind, isn't it? It's not something you turn on and off, is it? So I don't see Kentucky coming in and winning at all. I think they could have a deep run.
Oh yeah, you're never gonna count Kentucky out because of the talent that they have. But yeah, I think the thing is when you play against a team like Kentucky, they're either gonna embarrass you or bring out something really, really good in you. Kentucky always gonna have to be taken seriously. Always. Yeah. No matter what. But the thing about Kentucky is, I agree with what Coach Dean said. You want to come in and win, but if I know I'm not, I'm going to compete. But if I know I'm not going to win, because everybody wants to get into the NCAA tournament. 2 things with the SEC tournament, you counting healthy bodies. I don't want no injury timeouts. That's what you got to fight against. You got to compete, but you don't want nobody to get injured because I think the thing about a team like Kentucky is like we always talk about traditions. There's pressure and there's going to play basketball for Kentucky. You got to hear about this stuff from the time you get on. John Calipari, thank God he's won a natty. But I think the most underwhelming team because of their talent and expectations is Kentucky. It's hard for them to go out because if they don't win national championships, which they haven't done it, in a little while now.
12 years.
Yeah, so I think they got a different type of pressure on them. But if you are Tennessee, if you are a team like Florida, if you are a team like Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, you want to use this as a catapult to hopefully get you in. Because like I said, I do agree with what you said, Coach Dean. Basketball is the ultimate game of momentum. I want to have as much momentum as I possibly can. Fresh legs are out the window, people. That's over with. There are no fresh legs left in basketball at this point. Them locker rooms smelling like Bengay and a lot of freaking ice. That's what it should be. If anybody is complaining about fresh legs in March, right, you don't love basketball. This is what a player understands what a coach goes through throughout the season in March. They watching film on top of film on top of film. But I do like tournaments though. I do like the SEC. I like all the tournaments because it gives you a chance to see other schools, other conferences, other players. But I do agree, with Bo Carter though. I do think that this NCAA tournament is going to be It's going to be top to bottom good. I think these playing, the most dangerous team though is the playing teams. The teams that got to play to get them last couple of spots. I think, them be the most dangerous ones. I mean, I used to not be a fan of the playing teams. I'm like, are they really in? Like, yeah. And they got a shot to go deep into the, deep into the weekend. But I'm just looking forward to the tournament, NCAA tournament coming up. As a former player, all we used to do is sit around and talk about, man, if we played basketball, man, please. The only football player, in my opinion, dual sport that had a chance to go to the NBA is Julius Peppers. He could have got drafted in the NBA if he wanted to. Tony Gonzalez, no. Antonio Gates, no. This notion of I played basketball in college and you played in the NFL. That's how good you were as a hooper. Love those guys, by the way. Love them. But all these basketball players, watch all these former football players come out during the tournament talk about how they used to play against this player when we was growing up. Boy, please. You can't play no basketball, man. Get your
Hey, my friend Mark Pera was the starting right tackle at Auburn. He started 0-1, 2, and 3 for Auburn. Mark was about 6'5", right at 300. They used to list him at 299, and I used to always say, why didn't they just say 300? He goes, because I only weigh 290. I'm like, bullshit. I'm not buying that. I worked with the guy 5 years. Mark went to MUS in Memphis, and I'll never forget this. He said, Brown, after 9/11, our next game was at Syracuse. And remember, they'd closed airspace down. He goes, so we're flying from Atlanta on the charter, to Auburn football team to play at Syracuse. As soon as we entered New York airspace, we had F-16 fighter jet escort to the airport at Syracuse. And we landed there, and he said, before the game, we were warming up, feeling really good about this. And then they brought that guy, the singing cop, from New York that sang, God bless America. He goes, the game was over at that point. And then I had the task of defending. I was trying to block a guy named Dwight Freeney. And he said, at the end of the year in the Peach Bowl, I had another fun encounter in Atlanta against a defensive lineman named Julius Peppers. He goes, my grades sucked in those games. So we're in Charlotte 3 weeks ago, and they're going, on the news tonight, big news about the Big Pep in the National Football League Hall of Fame. I don't think people appreciate how much of a badass that guy was, and you're right. But when you talk to someone who actually played against him, they're like, you don't understand. You don't appreciate till you see it. All right, throw this at you, Matt Dean, what he just said. I know you and John both have to get off, and Bo and Ben, stay on if you can. But Matt, as a coach right now, you watch these games, you're like a computer. I mean, your brain, you and John Hartwell both. And John, sorry about the bad connection. I'm serious. A cable was cut, which is affecting the internet everywhere. But Matt, next week when you're on here, it's going to be in the middle of all this tournament stuff. What do you tell fans some advice on picking their brackets just for conference tournaments alone? What do you want to look for and not pay attention to?
Well, my first observation, Rob, is, and I don't think I caught this till now. Are you wearing like a sleeveless hoodie today? Is that what you got on?
No.
Are you Rocky Balboa? What the hell is that?
No, it says Wolf River Conservancy. That's a big organization in Memphis.
Okay,
support.
I must be losing my mind. There we go. I'm sorry. There you go. So
see, it's a polo called Acres Down South, and it's got mallards all over it. But they make them for all the SEC schools.
Last week, Ben, so I'm kind of losing a little bit of my sight. But anyway, the first thing I will tell you about brackets is, I think there's a couple teams that are chalk. I mean, I really, and I'm going to probably eat my words here, but I love UConn and I love Houston. Those are my top two picks. My heart will go with Tennessee because my boys, I raised them in the state of Tennessee, and they're Tennessee fans. Even though I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan, I just hope they're in the bracket. Okay?
Yeah.
Want to give you a quick story before I got to go. I remember this is back in, I think, 2015, the last year, or 14 last year, I was a part of a championship team. We were playing in the last regular season game before the conference tournament. We knew we were going to be the 2 or 3 regardless, and we're playing the 1 seed at home, knowing we would play them the next week, hopefully the championship game. So I ran something. I ran 40 minutes of 2-3 matchup zone. We lost in overtime, 58-56. Fast forward a week later, we go in triangle and 2, and we're up 39-12 at half, and you couldn't hear a pin drop in Millsap's gym. So what you're going to also see by coaches right now, they are saving stuff. And it could even be in John's situation in a conference tournament. You may have a 5 seed playing a 1 or whatever. They're going to save stuff that's going to throw you off. And that's why you see some of these upsets in conference tournament play, because people are emptying the kitchen sink to try to get to the big dance. And I got to go, guys. It's great to see everyone. Thank you.
Take care, Matt. Rhodes College, you got to love him. Dino Hoops, I love him. John Hartwell, I know you got to get going. You're there. You don't take days off. I mean, you know that when you sign up to be an athletic director. But you also have worked hard, got a beautiful place down on 30A. Love the background there. But you know, when you're watching a game as an athletic director and you look at these tournaments and all like that, Missy Bilderbeck, she's your coach. She's had success. And, you know, basketball, one thing I noticed at this time of year, you got to watch the late night games, okay? Last night I had the TV on. I've got, UConn playing Marquette, and then there was Fresno and New Mexico late at night. I love to do that, and I think everybody on this panel does. I know Matt does, to appreciate sports at every level. I'm not one of these people, let's just have these big schools to hell with everybody else, because most of your employees that are student athletes are going to come from Group of 5, D2, D3. I mean, because there's not enough just from the Power 5. As an AD, you're like a father to them.
We really have 385, in our case, 385 surrogate kids. And I think that's really one of the responsibilities of an athletic director. Well, beyond, I always fully understand this up front. I say the biggest victory that you're going to have, student athlete, is walking across that stage to get that diploma, because away from you. And to me, the job as an athletic beyond, when they walk across that stage, you develop a relationship life. And, one of the ones that obviously you guys know who he is, Joel, every month or so, Jordan and I'll text back and forth during text more often than that. And those relationships go for life. And I know he's not going to struggle financially at all, but, I'll have a call or a text that I had, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, whether it was Georgia State or Ole Miss, and say, Charlotte to Orlando, I know you know a lot of people. Can you help me? And that's why I love what I do so much. It's relationship. It's not rocket science, but I think it's really, really important. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in the day.
Well, and you're talking about Jordan Love, who came from California to Utah State when you were the AD there. John, look, again, bad internet issues today. We see you back on here next Thursday. Keep us posted on everything going on with your tournament. We'll put the word out. But, man, have fun at the beach. You go to the basketball games, come back and listen to the surf at night. Most people have to download an app from their phone to do that, but you're living it. I love it.
No, I appreciate it.
Oh, we lost. Okay, whoop. Hold on. All right. Hey, well, look, we'll get him back on next week. And I'm going to tell you something. This time of year, there's just so many things happening. You've got spring practice also kicking off. Bo, as a sports information director in charge of, media, for the Southwest Conference, the Big 12, National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America, there's so many stories to write. You see all this stuff, and I'm going to throw this to Ben too. You see what's trending. We just got a few minutes left. You see what's trending in the SEC and college sports and all. I keep going back to those remarks made by Nick Saban. Is he saying in every way possible, I want to be the commissioner of college football? Some people aren't going to like that. But do we have a team of 4 or 5 people, coaches, and then student athletes, former players that are involved? And do we have a separate deal for football, separate for basketball and a separate, team for all sports? What do you think will happen, Bo?
All great questions. The the $1.8 billion question is how to keep the NCAA TV money involved in this. I know you could split football and still do the other. Ben might correct me on this, but I think that with 12 teams this year, the college football playoffs going to make another $550 million. So that's CBS TV money there too. So it's if he can get a good mix of sort of like what they've had on the CFP committee, and I really agree with Ben. Tell us how they're voting. Who knows who's lowballing somebody on that on the selection there or whatever. But if they can put together a good group of maybe a college president or two, a former commissioner, 3 or 4 football coaches. Ben Troupe would be good on there. He's played and
would
knows the landscape. So it needs to be just some common sense, honestly.
Yeah, and Ben, who other than you? I'm dead serious when I say this because you're very smart, but you know all sports. You know people all around the country, but you've lived that life, and you're proof of hard work works. Name me 2 other former players you would want to have involved with, say, Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, or Nick Saban, Urban Meyer. Look, remember when Grant Taft ran the college football coaches deal? Grant Taft, if you can spell that last name, steamer pack of crystals, Teaff. Love that guy. But that's where we're going. Ben, give me a couple of guys.
Man, you know what? We got to get some ladies in there, because I think the thing.
I'm just talking about football for the football deal.
Just football in general.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just trying to think of somebody who he's not around anymore. That would have been NFL football. But 2 guys that I think will really, really be good, and these are guys that I played with. Or what is his name? The freaking Jonathan Vilma that went to Miami. I think he would be excellent because he does commentary. And when you're on the commentary side of things, you have to learn more about the business. I think he was a biology major. That guy went to Miami, majored in biology, and still is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. I think that kind of stuff is crazy. And when you start talking about a guy who, just really, really influential, I know people ain't gonna like it. I think Maurice Correct will be good, because he went through a lot when he was at Ohio State, and I think he understands when he was a guy that really tried to shift college football.
He did, yeah.
He did for a month or so. What they made because I think the thing is, you want to have people who have gone through something and understand. I was always told I got to weigh the consequences before I make a decision. Mm-hmm. These guys know how to wait. Most people do not. These players. Like when people, you were talking about it earlier, Rob. When you talk about Division II, FCS, FBS, you start talking about G5. A lot of these players jumping into the portal, they end up at these schools, not because these schools are less than, but the other schools ain't come calling. When you talk about the college football playoff and things of that nature, sometimes I only get consideration because I had somebody in there, going to bat for me. Sometimes that's the only reason why you even know. How do I know? Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson went to BYU. They were undefeated.
Yep.
They were trying. They were trying to find somebody to play. They go play Coastal Carolina. They call Coastal Carolina up. They go to Coastal Carolina. They lose. They did not move up or down in the rankings. You know what they let me know? They didn't watch that game. When they asked those people in that room, did you see what happened? Oh yeah. Someone says, yeah, BYU, they beat them, right? No, they lost. That's right. I think that having representation in these rooms, because if I'm in the room, I'm far less about, of course, Ben, you went to Florida. I'm not here on behalf of that. Mm-hmm. I'm here on behalf of the fact that is it the college football or it's not. Do not put them in because you don't know what they are in geographically. Most people know what TCU. They know the TCU Horned Frogs. They don't know where they are in Texas because you got Houston, you got SMU. Don't just tell me about the team in Austin or the team down there in College Station. I think it's about making sure there's representation in the room. And I'm always doing it for the schools that didn't get the fanfare I got. Because going to Florida, I thought everybody got that much exposure. I thought everybody got
right.
it. And then you go to the combine, and there are players who You don't even know who they are. They know who you are. You the dude that did this, right? We saw you. There are other college players telling you about you based off seeing you on TV. So I think that as a former player, yeah, I'm supposed to be speaking on behalf of the ones who have never got a seat at the table. They walk by these rooms now. That's why the rooms are all glass. They want you to see who's in them, what we eat, but you can't hear the conversations. I don't think that's right, because if the greatest wide receiver to ever play college football went to an HBCU, one of the greatest running backs went to an HBCU, they're coming through school right now, they might not get drafted. Think about that.
Yeah.
If Jerry Rice and
Walter Payton
coming through school right now, they need Dion at their school to get looked at. Think about that. Right? So that's the part I'm always thinking about when I say, look, I thank God for the opportunity that I had, the school that I played. But I went to the University of Florida. My head coach is Steve Spurrier. So people are going to kind of know of me because of him. Yeah. Oh, you play for Spurrier? Yeah. Think about the fact that when you start talking about some of these schools, we look at it as you shouldn't have to go to a P5 for people to know about your squad, because you got some great.
Yeah, you do. You're right.
I'm looking forward to that part of it, because you know what it is, Rob. You know what it is, Bo. What scares people the most about these smaller teams, they can beat you.
Yeah.
You don't want to play them dudes in one game. Anything can happen. That's what I think the 12 teams is going to hopefully do. Now, it's still going to be very, very, very SEC-centric. It's going to be a lot of teams in the SEC get in, but I think people have grown to just understand, man, you can fight this train called SEC or you can get on it, because you ain't going
to. There's a saying in the stock market, don't fight the tape, okay? The ticker tape, and it's what it is. Look, great stuff today. Unbelievable show. We run out of time. Hopefully the divers in the submersible have gone down and fixed that broken cable that Jaws bit or whatever. We're going to need a bigger boat, man. Yeah. We might be. But anyway, hey, man, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Thanks to all of our listeners, viewers, sponsors, our guests. Unbelievable. Check them out. Places like the Vitamin Shop down in Oxford, Mississippi, and Olive Branch, Mississippi. And just remember this when you're out and about, okay? You got to think about letting people know about this show. Smash the subscribe button. Bo Carter, tell them how they can follow you, and then Ben, you do the same, and then we will wave goodbye after we do that.
At Bo Carter 52 on X, and then Sports Page Dallas, DFW Sports Page anytime.
All right, Ben Troupe.
At being Troupe 84 on X, on IG, and make sure and follow at 84 Reasons. My podcast is talking to all things Florida, current, future, and former.
Hey, we got to love great minds think alike, and this is a round table on Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow. Get pen and paper. Well, we don't say it anymore. Get your notes thing on your iPhone ready to go. We're out of here. So, folks, good night, everybody, or good morning. Goodbye. See you.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal, and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.